Hi Pentathletes, this video is on section 4. It is the summary which is on page 55 through 57, and it is about all of the artworks numbers 1 through 8. At its most basic level, propaganda is a method of communication that attempts to influence behavior. It can be used to convey important ideas about safety and health, but can also take on more sinister overtones when applied to hot-button political topics. Propaganda is typically disseminated by those in power. Historically, it has been used to support religious and political regimes. Selected work number 1. Yes, Sir, I Am Aware by Cyril Bird, 1940. Cyril Bird, pen name Fougas, produced approximately 1,846 cartoons for Punch, eventually becoming the only cartoonist promoted to the position of editor. Yes, Sir, I Am Aware makes humorous reference to the type of propaganda posters Fougas himself created during this period. Selected work number 2, Freedom from Want by Norman Rockwell, 1943. The four freedoms of FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, refer to the ideals outlined by President FDR in his 1941 State of the Union address. This speech described the four fundamental freedoms Roosevelt believed all people across the world should have the right to enjoy. At the height of its distribution in the early 20th century, 1 million copies of the Saturday Evening Post were produced each week, with the magazine enjoying a total readership of approximately 4 to 5 million people. Norman Rockwell was an incredibly popular commercial illustrator who is best known for his association with the Saturday Evening Post. Freedom from Want is one of 4 paintings Rockwell created to illustrate FDR's 4 freedoms. It is perhaps the artist's best-known work. Selected work number 3, Zeppelin-Field by Albert Speer, 1934 through 37. Albert Speer became head of the Chief Office for Construction in 1934 and was charged with developing the most important Nazi architectural projects such as the construction of numerous buildings and public spaces for Nuremberg. The Zeppelin-Feld Stadium was one of Speer's first commissions. It could originally accommodate approximately 150,000 people and served as an elaborate stage for Hitler's rally activities. Selected work number 4, Worker and Coal Coats Women, Vera Mukina, 1937. Vera Mukina was one of the most successful artists of the Soviet era. Her optimistic, socialist-inspired art was strongly supported by government patronage. Worker and Coal Coats Women is Mukina's best-known work. It is generally considered one of the most important examples of Soviet socialist realism in sculptural form. The 1937 Paris International Exposition, held just 2 years before the official outbreak of World War II, has come to be known most significantly for its political undertones. Selected work number 5, Due Popoli una guerra, 10 lira postage stamp, 1940s Italy. Benito Mussolini led the fascist party in Italy. He ultimately became a heroic cultic figure, celebrated by many until his execution in 1945. Postage stamps are government-issued documents and can therefore be analyzed to determine what they communicate about a political regime. This stamp was issued by Mussolini's government in 1941. It celebrates the military and political alliance between Germany and Italy. It may be said that mid-19th century realism began the era of modern art in Europe, with the advent of a series of dramatic artistic experiments and the beginning of the idea of the avant-garde. During World War II, European modern art both flourished and was attacked, primarily by Hitler and the Nazis. European artists responded to their war experiences in a wide variety of ways. Hitler's loathing of modern art was perhaps best demonstrated through the 1937 Entartete Kunst exhibition. Selected work number 6, Shelterers in the Tube by Henry Moore, 1941. Though Henry Moore is today considered one of the most important British sculptors in history, his shelter drawings are a key document of the World War II era. The shelter drawings are a series of approximately 300 drawings Moore created as he explored the underground shelter system and created a large documentary record of what he encountered there. Shelterers in the Tube is typical of Moore's drawings of this type. The image shows a mass of figures lined up against the walls of an underground tunnel. It illustrates one of the very many difficulties the British public experienced during the course of the war. Selected work number 7, Blind Man's Buff by Max Beckmann, 1945. Hitler supported art that he perceived as connected to Germany's imperial past and that was highly academic and conservative in style and subject. Max Beckmann's art was dramatically transformed by his experiences in World War I. The artist's work became more expressionist in nature. Blind Man's Buff is one of 9 large triptychs that Beckmann painted between 1932 and 1950. The work can be seen as illustrating the inherent friction between Germany during the World War II era, a society that called for beautiful and uplifting art, while wreaking havoc on itself and the rest of the Western world. Selected work number 8, White Crucifixion by Marc Chagall, 1938. Marc Chagall, an artist of Russian, French, and Jewish descent, found his work ordered removed from all German museums after the Nazis came to power. Chagall and his family were ultimately smuggled out of France in May of 1941. White Crucifixion is an example of Chagall's work focused on biblical narratives. The painting is the first in a series of works by the artist which feature the figure of Christ as a Jewish martyr and are intended to call attention to the persecution and suffering of European Jews under the Nazi regime. After World War II, Europeans struggled to make sense of what they had been through. Some doubted their faith and their place in the world, while some were determined to reinvigorate Europe.